morning air was chilled by persistent wind and slight rain. Phérine's habit was not sufficient, but he leaned against the wind, finding his way through the chapel door to an even chillier, damp atmosphere. The brothers entered and took their places, each one maintaining his solitary silence. The incense filled the air, mixing with the candle flames. The crucifix presided over the scene. Gradually, the light from beyond became palpable, and they took the current, silent, focused, and open. The sound became audible. The sound from the leviathans, deep and soft, carried on the wind, carried through the dampness, carried through the heavy beams that held the chapel roof. The sound entered the beings of the gathered monks and entered into their minds, echoing, pulsating, recalibrating their minds. Each brother became a chamber to amplify the sound, the current, the light, circling within their minds, moving through their subtle energy forms and becoming a vortex of intense light. Shafts of light shone through a small aperture in the roof, piercing the crown chakra of every monk, and formed steady flames above each one's head. The chapel filled with energy pulsations that emanated slowly like waves from a central point above the altar. Beams radiated from the flames, and the combination of waves of energy with the shafts of light spread across the pre-dawn hills, glowing, then disappeared into the emerging daylight. By 5 a.m., the intensity had died down. The monks gathered their flowing habits into their hands to avoid the puddles left by the early rain, and retired to their solitary quarters to ponder, to write, to study, or to stare at their fireplaces. Birdsongs began to fill the morning air, and Phéline put on his jeans and a warm sweater and left for a long hike across the moors, reconstructing the events of the night and checking his inner bearings against his awakened memories. Freddy, the abbey retriever, joined him for the walk, and Phéline was glad of the company. Neither the abbot nor Matthew had been at the morning meditation, but he sensed that they were not far away. He could see a wisp of smoke rising from the abbot's chimney, and thought he must have done his meditation privately in his own solitude. Each monk's cell was ideally suited to the inner life, contemplation, writing, cogitating, and wrestling with the ever-present inner demons that beset those who choose a spiritual life. The retriever led the way to a narrow path that wound into the distance. They walked about 3 hours, and the circular route seemed to have been specially designed to bring them back to the cloisters in time for breakfast. Bright morning sun rays danced on the windows of the refectory, while the internalized monks enjoyed their coffee, toast, and marmalade. Murmurs of conversation generated a feeling of soft conviviality. The abbot and Matthew were sitting at a table together and motioned Phéline to join them. "Did you sleep well?" said the abbot. "Had a good walk with old Freddy? He loves to give company." "We need to leave today for London. Please be ready with all your materials for the mission by 10 a.m. You will get a lot more clarity about your mission and the specialities of your alias, Peter Green." There was time, Phéline thought, to have a good long soak in the bathtub. His body had been restored somewhat miraculously. He needed to put on some weight, some muscle. His time in prison had taken a severe toll, but the wounds were healed or healing well. The marks on his ankles and wrists were fading, and the burns from the electric shock irons were better. He found Epsom salts and poured himself a most relaxing cocktail to soak in. The hour passed quickly, and he hastily gathered his gear, documents, and some miniature scientific equipment, as well as a small collection of personal weapons. As he emerged from his cell, the car was waiting, and they sped off through the Pennines and down the M1 to a different world. They drove into an underground car park in a rather anonymous section of Battersea in South London, and the lift brought them to an expanse of offices. They were ushered into a conference room where about 15 young men from India and the Middle East greeted them with wide smiles. Abbot Chisholm introduced Phéline, and one by one, the IT experts, hackers, engineers, decoders, gamers revealed their skills and specialities. "Phéline," said Abbot Chisholm, "here are your playmates for the next few days. They will teach you all you need to know about the technical parts of your mission." The Whirling Yantra has many formats, some technical, some spiritual harmonics, tuning it to your soul. By the end of your training, you will know the yantra completely, and I need you to gain expert command of its use. Do you understand? "I do," said Phéline. "See you later on. Cheers. Take care." And with that, the abbot left. Over the course of the next 3 weeks, Phéline immersed himself in each one of the experts, learning, listening, absorbing, processing. He began to comprehend the extraordinary phenomenon of the yantra, how it behaves, how it reveals insights, how its mind adjusts to yours and gets your mind to lock onto it. In order to truly master the yantra, Phéline had to work on his mind far harder than on the technical aspects. The mind had to be completely clear, clean, and focused. Zero distractions. Total self-respect. No arrogance. Perfect inner balance. His emotional landscape had to be smooth. Perfect control over the self. Self-restraint, no desires, no feelings of lack or wanting anything. No addictive cravings, not even any mental wandering. Each thought had to be meaningful, significant, relevant. And there could not be any superfluous ideas. His intellectual capacity had to be honed. He practiced with mathematical problems, ethical dilemmas. He evaluated the aesthetic merits of modern art and music. Every day he wrote creatively. He assessed complex legal issues. He practiced his powers of discernment and of judging character by assessing his technical assistants and mentors. From time to time, the stag came and they flew into the stratosphere, moving into different areas of the mind space, and he used these occasions to assess the mental functioning of the phantoms, the elves, the spirits of the elements. He made himself so totally empty that there were no filters, no preconceptions, no assumptions. Nothing of his individuality remained, but he became a completely clear conduit. A perfectly reflecting mirror. So much so that he could anticipate the actions and behaviors of different categories of beings and different types of people with precision. He developed a razor-sharp intellect, an ultra-sensitive mind, and a perfectly clear conscience. Phéline felt he was now ready for his assignment.